People love to frame religion and science like they're in a never-ending boxing match. Faith in one corner, facts in the other. Winner takes reality. But real life is not a fight. It's more like a messy group project where everyone thinks they're doing the most work. Religion is incredibly diverse, and humans naturally gather around shared stories and values. Those stories create moral frameworks, and yes, that can create bias. But bias is not always a villain. Sometimes it's simply the mark of a community shaping what it believes is right and wrong. So here's the real question. Why do theistic religions still have power over society when modern scientific explanations of life contradict a God-created point of view? My answer to that question is religion, when used ethically, can be a guidepost, although it should not decide what is believed in science. The idea that religion and science have always been enemies is actually a modern invention. Seamus Murphy calls it a phony war, arguing that history oversimplified their relationship into a fake rivalry. Even the Galileo story wasn't the clean church versus science battle as it's usually presented as. Evans supports this by explaining that science and religion are not fixed categories. They change over time, which makes the idea of eternal conflict historically inaccurate. So, this whole pick a side mindset, history does not back that up. The modern tension comes down to authority. As science becomes more powerful, many sociologists assumed religion would slowly disappear. But Evans explains that prediction failed because humans don't operate on logic alone. They're driven by meaning and identity too. Roth explains that science and religion clash because they use different methods to define the truth. He calls them incompatible universes of inquiry. Not because one is false, but because they answer different kinds of questions. Science answers how. Religion answers why. Religion didn't lose. Instead, it shifted into a moral space that science does not occupy. Science tells humans what is. Religion challenges humans with what ought to be. Murphy warns that when people try to pull moral rules directly from science, they fall into scientism, which treats scientific facts like ethical laws, even though science is not built to answer moral questions. Roth adds that religion plays an emotional and psychological stabilizing role, helping people face fear, meaning, and human limitation in ways data cannot. Peterson also points out that modern culture often treats atheism as intellectual and religion as outdated. But he argues this mindset ignores the social consequences of weakening shared moral frameworks, consequences that affect everyone, not just believers. So no, religion does not make people unintelligent, and atheism does not automatically make people more rational. The truth is more complicated. Many argue that humans evolved morality before religion. Others say humans can ground ethics in philosophy, psychology, or social contracts. Some even go as far as to blame religion itself for social conflict. One modern example of this thinking appears in the article Whether God Exists is Relevant to Ethics, which argues that moral truth does not depend on a God at all, that humans can determine right and wrong through reason, empathy, and shared human experience alone. In this view, religion may influence ethics, but is not necessary for ethical behavior to exist. And to be fair, those critiques don't come out of nowhere. They come from real historic experience, real conflicts, and real harm done in the name of religion. But here's the key response. Murphy explains that science can describe behavior, but it cannot assign moral value to it. When people try to make science replace moral philosophy, they confuse explanation with guidance. Glaser adds another layer. His research shows that education does not destroy religion. In fact, church attendance often rises with education. But at the same time, school systems themselves have become more secular and nationalistic, sometimes attempting to remove religion from public education entirely. This result is not the disappearance of belief. It is the shrinking of shared moral space. So yes, individuals can be moral without religion, but sustaining shared community-level moral responsibility becomes much harder without a unifying network. This tension plays out most clearly in schools. Glaser shows that education and religion can coexist, but modern school systems are increasingly secular in structure. Separating church and science is necessary, but removing religion from culture legitimacy is something different. Teaching evolution without religious interference makes sense, but teaching religious itself as outdated or irrational inside education weakens public moral dialogue. Students may still believe privately, but the shared system no longer recognizes religion as a meaningful moral voice. When public moral space shrinks, morality doesn't disappear. It fractures. Using religion to deny science is the wrong tool for the job, but using science to replace morality is also a mistake. Religion provides community, moral language, ethical limits, compassion, and purpose. Science provides explanations, predictions, medicine, and technology. They are not replacements. They are different tools for the task. Even in the scientific age, religion continues because science cannot supply meaning. Science can build a rocket. Religion asks why humans launch it. Science can explain consciousness. Religion asks how humans should treat conscious beings. Science creates power. Religion questions how that power should be used responsibly. Expecting science to replace moral systems is like expecting a calculator to define justice. That is not what it is built to do. The future is not a war between religion and science. It's a partnership where each stays in its lane. Science uncovers facts. Religion guides values. Without ethics, science risks becoming powerful but directionless. Without science, religion risks becoming rigged instead of reflective. Theistic religions still matters, not because it defeats science, but because it provides what science is not designed to deliver: a shared moral vision for how humans should live together.